Our national security was threatened in 2001. Now, a decade and a half later, how do you measure national security?
Well, the people I talk to who are in this national security apparatus think the threat is at least as bad now as it was before 9/11. It's a different threat. We have to prepare for it differently, but it's coming from more directions. The terrorists are coming from a larger number of bases, and we're still the target.
Are Americans safe?
We're probably safer than we were before 9/11 because of all the things we've done, but unless we recognize this as a new threat and prepare for it. For instance, we said in 9/11 report, the one thing you must never allow a terrorist to do is have a safe spot to plan. It took them 3 years to plan 9/11 in Afghanistan. Now, for the first time in Syria, around Raqqa, they've got a totally safe space. And they've been planning, and who knows what they've been planning. But that's very dangerous to allow a terrorist group to bring in people and plan a major attack.
Can we deal with the threat of ISIS? Are we doing that effectively?
Yeah, we can deal with it, but it's only one of the threats out there. And you've got to deal with it in a number of ways. Obviously, you're going to deal with it with boots on the ground. You have to. We have to eliminate ISIS. But beyond that, it's an ideology. And you can't just beat an ideology with troops on the ground. We can't just be, our image cannot just be the man in a tank in the Middle East. We've got to work on the ideology. We've got to find out how they're really recruiting all these young people to this very destructive ideology and have a message that counters that much more effectively than we've done up to this point.
In this presidential election, certainly the polls show that people are very concerned about the rise in terrorism, the threat of our national security. Are we as Americans, do you think, willing to give up our civil liberties?
That's one of the key questions. We're not willing to give up our civil liberties, but there has to be a compromise somewhere in the middle. For instance, the FBI, the major tool they've always used is wiretapping. Way back to when they got John Dillinger and when they got Al Capone, it was wiretapping. And right through 9/11, they wiretapped basically, or listened in on the conversations. Now these conversations are encrypted. Encrypted means you can send something out and you can't listen. So some of the key people have told me in intelligence, they see a plot developing, they follow it up to a certain point, and then it goes dark. What they need is, on the new technology, they need a so-called backdoor. Technology companies say, we're international companies. We deal in secrecy. We can't give you a backdoor. Well, if we don't have a backdoor, we're not going to be able to listen to a lot of these conversations. We're not going to be able to intercept some of these plots, and more of them are going to get through. We've got to make that determination. And the technology companies ought to be making it, and the government ought to be making it. We ought to be making it. The United States Congress ought to have a debate as to what we're willing to give up in order to ensure our security and what we're not willing to give up. It's a very, very important question, but it's a question for the whole democracy to talk about.
Are our leaders recognizing this, or are they failing us in a sense?
I think our leaders are dealing with some of it, and certainly we're safer. We've got very good people now in the CIA. We're doing a better job with the FBI. They're talking to each other, which is very important. They weren't talking to each other before 9/11, otherwise we might have stopped the plot. So a lot of good things are happening. But we haven't yet got an overall grasp of the fact this whole thing is now spread out to any number of other countries, that they're in Africa now, and they're in Asia, and they're all over the world. And we've got to have an argument and an ideology, as we did against communism, which is another ideology. We didn't just have boots on the ground, we didn't just have soldiers, that was important, but we also had the Marshall Plan. We also had Radio Free Europe. We also had all sorts of other tactics to try and get at the ideology and present a better ideology, which we have. We're not doing that now.
The rise in social media certainly has changed. The technological world has changed since 9/11. How has that influenced the fight against terrorism?
Well, this is very, very important because that's what they use to recruit. They go on social media. They take a young man who's maybe somewhat troubled, maybe looking for something in his own life, and they bring up these very good recruiters. ISIS in particular uses social media very, very well. They're very good at it. Now, we invented it. We should be better at it, but we're not yet. We're not countering those messages, and we're not finding out where those messages are coming from, interrupting them, and then putting our own messages out. We've got to do that.
Governor, you've helped us think more realistically about the threat of terrorism. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.